So one of my more memorable hands, I was 22 or 23 and was playing a tournament at Bellagio. It was WPT 5 Diamond. It's a $10,000 buy-in tournament. This is day one or day two. It's very early in the tournament. And I had recently been on high stakes poker, which was like a kind of a career highlight for me at that point, or it was going to be, but it went kind of poorly. What happened was I won't go into the long story, but the short story is I was scheduled to play on there for one full day. I was an alternate the day before. I got called in partway through the day as an alternate, and I played, and I was so boring that they canceled my invitation for the next day. So I only got to play part of a day. And by boring, I mean, I just didn't play many hands and whatever. It was boring. So in this tournament, somebody else at my table, who I won't name, who had been on high stakes poker before, he asked me like why or how I got invited to play on high stakes poker. Like he was surprised that they let me play. And so I don't remember what I said. It was probably just something very friendly, but I remember I was offended. And at that point, I was playing very big games online, and winning against really good players. So like there was a time in my career where there was a bit of a chip on my shoulder where I knew I was one of the top players in the world, and most of the world didn't think that, or didn't even know who I was. And so things like that got to me a lot. And so the reason that I tell all that backstory is that basically what happened is I played a hand, and in a way that not a lot of people would have played, and it turned out to be a good way to play it in the moment. And so I kind of got to prove myself in that setting. So the way the hand went, I was on the button. By the way, I was way too loose aggressive back then as well, especially when transitioning from like heads up no limit online to 9-handed tournaments. But part of that was just being used to, like, aggressive styles worked very well back then, but part of it was also I thought I had a big skill edge over the field, so I was going to play more hands and play them more aggressively. So in this hand, I have Jack 4 offsuit on the button. I raise. I have the Jack of spades. Small blind calls, and this was a known player too, not the one that made that comment to me. This was Amir Vahidi, who I had seen on World Series of Poker broadcasts many times. The flop was Queen 8-5 with a flush draw, spades. I have the Jack of spades. Check. I bet half pot. He calls. Turn is a king offsuit. He checks. I don't have a very good hand or draw, but king's an overcard. I thought, he's going to fold a lot of like 8x and gut shots and things like that. So I bet again, about half pot. He calls. Now I have a very aggressive image just because I've been playing aggressively, but also because at this time there were not as many players that were young, and the perception of everybody when a young kid was at the table is that they're a maniac. So river is the ace of spades, bringing the front door flush, and he leads into me for half pot. And I have nothing but Jack high. I have the Jack of spades blocker, which is a good blocker to consider raising with. But as I sat there thinking through the hands he would play that way, I basically kept coming back to, this ace is a scare card, and he thinks I'm a maniac. So if he has a good hand, why is he going to bet? But then I go back to, okay, well, he's check called twice. The flush got there. The only draw that could have called twice that missed is 7-6 for the open ender, because like 9-6 is going to fold without a flush draw. So there's only one hand that I can beat, but why would he bet with any other hand? Because if he's got like, I don't know, ace 8, why doesn't he just check and let me bluff? If he's got a strong flush or nut flush, especially, why doesn't he check? Because the king was offsuit. So why doesn't he check, let me bet, and get the check raise in against my thin value or bluffs? And I went into the tank and I kept thinking, like, he can't have any bluffs, but he can't have any value bets, because I just really don't think that he would bet any hands this way that were good. Anyways, I ended up calling, and he did have 7-6, which is the only thing he could have, I guess. And I won the hand with Jack High. And I remember it was a small pot early in a tournament. So, like, financially, it was not important to me. Like, the actual winning the pot was not important. But I remember feeling, I don't know the word for it. But I remember feeling good that I'd kind of proven myself to the table. I remember looking specifically at the player who made that comment to me, just to see his reaction, because he was very surprised.